The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. It has also been said that absolute power corrupts absolutely. The political party system in America has used these two ideas to usurp the power of the American people for the purpose of expanding the authority of the federal government. How we, the people, can begin to take back some of that control is the discussion for tonight on this episode of The First Branch. Corruption in the federal government is not just an issue from the right or the left side of the aisle. Both parties show contempt for their constituents. The Washington elite have no issues with telling us that they're better than we are. They know more than we do, and we should just be grateful that they're in charge and keeping us safe from those evil forces that pose threats to our liberties. This attitude is clear by their responses when confronted by their own constituents. Most notably from the Dems, when Biden responds to a factory worker's concerns during a discussion on the Second Amendment, he says, and I quote, "I don't work for you, man." Now, I get it. Many liberals will argue about the context of the conversation to defend Biden's actions. The context is not that important, but it shows the attitude that he has toward the people he says he represents. He does not feel it is his job to represent the man in front of him. It's the man's job to obey the rules that President Biden sets out. This is confirmed by the actions Biden has taken since he has been in office. With 35 executive orders signed since he was sworn in as our 46th president, Biden has proven he is comfortable with circumventing the due process of legislation. That means he is ruling without the American people's say in how he is governing. What is more telling is that he has signed Executive Order 14,008, the Tackling the Climate Change Crisis at Home and Abroad Executive Order. This carries with it some tax burdens. The U.S. Constitution states that any tax burdens that are imposed on the American people require legislation to be presented first in the House of Representatives. He is literally disregarding the Constitution. So why are Republicans letting him do this? Well, for the same reasons that Democrats let Trump do it. They knew their time was coming when they would be in charge. If they prevented the Republicans from doing it then, it would be harder for them to justify their behavior when they finally had control of the most powerful seat of government in the entire world. And now they have it. Republicans in Washington are no different. I have sent over 10 emails to my representative, Roger Williams. His response? He has only sent me 2 rubber-stamped memos thanking me for my interest in his office. I attended a virtual town hall meeting that he hosted as well. It was clear he had handpicked the questions that he would be asked. He had the answers readily available, and just as quickly as the meeting started, he had to get back to those more important matters of his day. I have reached out to Senator Cruz as well. Now you can just imagine how he views my requests. He's too busy talking to celebrities to take time to hear from those who actually voted for him. I know many of you are thinking like, whoa, dude, stop the whining. Those guys are just way too busy to stop all they're doing just to listen to you. Well, you're wrong if you feel that way. Our government is set up to make sure our leaders represent us. We do live in a representative republic after all. They have just convinced you that they're too important to take time to listen to us. So how do we get them to start taking us seriously again? Well, we need to hit them where it hurts the most, in the pocketbook. We here at the First Branch have already submitted 2 amendment proposals that would reduce Congress's annual salary. So now we're going to take aim at the most powerful seat of government in the entire world. Yeah, we are here to remind the President of the United States that he does, in fact, work for us. And to remind those in Washington we still have a voice in this country. We are truly tired of the corruption that has given way to marginalizing the will of the American people. Moreover, I'm personally tired of being lied to by Republican politicians that talk of original intent, yet won't respond to anyone's questions to their failures to reverse socialist government trends here in America. And one of the ways we are going to do that is by taking back the power and submitting legislation that ends the presidents from receiving a lifelong pension as well as removing the requirements of taxpayers for footing the bill for their expenses when leaving office. But before we get to the heart of this legislation, I just wanted to remind you to share this channel to all those like-minded Americans who believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And don't forget to click that subscribe button and tap that bell icon and hit that thumbs up to show your support for this channel as we seek to reverse the trends of socialist governance in this country. The Presidential Pension Prevention Act is a simple piece of legislation. But before we get into its inner workings, I want to take some time to share the history behind why presidents are even afforded a pension in the first place. Understanding its history will help us understand why the president's pension is no longer necessary and why it has just become a burden to the American taxpayer. Also, it will highlight just how the political parties in our country have been using this pension as a way of continuing to erode the influence the American people have been having on governing by consent. Just think about the examples I gave concerning Republican leadership toward my requests. And I was an admitted supporter of them. And they think that I'm unworthy of their time. Yet they go on conservative talk shows and shout about the original intent of our founding fathers. And in the words of the great swashbuckler himself, Indigo Montoya,
"You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means."
And that right there is about how I feel when I listen to a Republican talk about original intent. Why was the Former President's Act even signed into law in the first place? When President Truman left office in 1953, he had accumulated so much debt. Some of that debt was accumulated while in office, though much of it was a result of his poor investment decisions as well as business failures that he had made prior to entering politics. But due to the mountains of debt that he owed, he was encouraged to file for bankruptcy, but refused. Many in Congress thought it was an embarrassment that a former president of a powerful nation would be in such financial dire straits. It was because of this perceived embarrassment that Congress increased the pay of the president, as well as passing the Former President's Act. Just kind of as a cool point of note as I was researching all this, Truman also happened to be the very first enrollee in Medicare, and I just kind of thought that was a cool fact. The reason for the enactment of the Former President's Act is no longer valid. President Truman was the last former president not to be a millionaire. Every president since him has gone on to make millions from their post-president activities. There used to be an unwritten rule that presidents would not use their status as a former president as a money-making venture. After Gerald Ford left office, however, he would be the first to go on the public speaking circuit and get paid for post-presidential engagements. And ever since then, every president has found great wealth beyond the White House. The average net worth of all presidents since the Former President's Act was signed into law is $34 million. I did exclude President Trump's net worth because he is a billionaire, and his net worth alone kind of skewed the average by making it over $280 million. But of those former presidents that are currently alive, the one with the least amount of personal wealth is Jimmy Carter. His personal wealth is estimated at $8 million. As you can see, the need for a president to continue to need a pension has outlived its original intent. Former presidents have no issue with finding work in their post-presidential life. Therefore, there is no embarrassment that can be attributed to us as a nation because our presidents may not be able to make money. As for the need to have an expense account for the staff and transition back into the private sector, let's look at these expenses that we pay as taxpayers for them to have their staff members. For 7 months, we pay for their office spaces, the furniture for those office spaces, and the cost of transporting that furniture. We also pay the salary for that staff, as well as all communications they may need for their correspondence, including postage costs. They don't even have to buy their stamps. As for their staff funding, now keep in mind, we pay for this for the rest of their life. Again, they are making money in the private sector now. Millions of dollars in the private sector. And they don't have to pay for their staff? So what's the cost of this perk? Well, it's $150,000 a month for the first 30 months. That's then reduced to $96,000 for every month after that. Did you hear that? This is what we are paying for them to have a staff that they can afford to pay for out of their millions of dollars that they make post-presidency. Are you not sickened yet by this wasteful spending? If not, I hope what follows starts to get you just a little angry. Because here's what corrupt politicians in D.C. are doing to protect the big political machine. And remember, both parties are for this. Not one congressperson has sought to change this. The current retirement salary for a former president is $219,000, and we have 5 former living presidents. So we as the taxpayers are spending just over $1 million in retirement for people who are already millionaires. Now to their expense accounts. We are spending $1.8 million a month on their expenses. That works out to $21.6 million a year. And add that to their salaries, and you're looking at a bill of $22.7 million annually to fund a lavish lifestyle for people who are already millionaires. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of the constant fleecing of the American people to line the pockets of the people we voted into office to protect us from evil, when it turns out they are the evil we need protection from. That's why this channel exists. That's why we are submitting the Presidential Pension Prevention Act. And it's why we're asking every American to share this video and submit the proposed legislation to the representatives in the House. We have got to take this seriously, and we have got to stop the bleeding. If we want to stop corrupt politicians, let's stop giving them unrestricted access to our money. Remember, the love of money is the root of all evil. I didn't say that having money is evil, but stealing money proves you love it more than you love the people you have been sworn to serve. And that is corruption. Again, not even those morally high Republicans are looking to undo the theft of the American taxpayer. And yes, Roger Williams, you'll be getting another email from me today, as will Senator Cruz. And just keep in mind, Texas congresspersons, November 28, 2022 is fast approaching. Now, I know Cruz is safe until 2025 and Cornyn until 2027, but the House can certainly get a major overhaul every 2 years, since all 435 seats are up for grabs. And since there's been zero changes to the border protection, zero reversals of presidential executive orders, and zero attempts to reverse liberal legislation, many Republicans may find themselves without a job come November 9th, 2022. I'm all for holding our elected officials accountable for their failures to act. Being conservative doesn't mean making fun of liberals. And that's what it seems like all our Republican leadership is doing in Washington these days. America, let it not be said of us that we failed to act. This bill will be the first major step in reminding our political leaders that we want our country back. They've had their say for way too long, but not anymore. Please download the proposed legislation in the link that I posted below. Again, I've also posted the links to contact your representatives as well as your senators. We need to flood their inbox with this legislation. It will show them we will no longer stand for being taken advantage of. I know you may feel like it's not worth it. The government is just too big a machine to take on. And that's exactly what they're counting on. But I'm counting on the fighting spirit of every American to take this seriously and make politicians take notice of the power that we can wield that has been afforded to us by our Constitution. I would like to personally thank all of our viewers for carving out time from your busy lives to watch this episode. Y'all's support means the world to us. It gives me hope that there are still people out there willing to fight for our freedoms. Thanks again, y'all. Have a great weekend, America, and God bless.